Alex, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so paint the picture for me. You are a young man living in Toronto, active, starting a business, just living your life, and then in 2017, diagnosed with MS. Walk me through that moment and what happened shortly thereafter.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I just recently jumped into entrepreneurship. I was trying to start a business in senior care technology, trying to address the problems there. And we were going through a pretty stressful period, trying to figure out what exactly we were going to pursue. I'd recently got a bit of bad news on the business front, a little hiccup, and I would say I was stressed out. And I woke up one morning and my vision had faded in my right eye. And then I thought I'd sleep it off, but it just got worse. So it went from walk-in clinic to eye doctor. They sent me to the ER. And the eventual diagnosis was optic neuritis, which is kind of a canary in the mine for MS. But you don't get the actual diagnosis until they've seen some deterioration over time. So I was in MS purgatory for like 6 months, doing my research and figuring things out before I got the final diagnosis, which was just before Christmas 2017.
So from that moment that you felt stressed to the moment you got the official diagnosis, how much time are we talking about?
We're talking 6 months, so it's a long time to be sitting in limbo wondering, like, how much is my life going to change? What do we do from here? Are we going to go on medication? What lifestyle changes can I make? And when you're doing research, Google can be your best friend, but also your worst enemy. And some of the stats are scary. So, yeah.
But you took an active approach, it seems. There were a lot of people who would go do that initial due diligence. They would go to the emergency room, they would see a doctor, and then after that they say, well, I've done everything I need to do. If this is going to get worse, I'll follow up later. But you seem to be on it as much as you could, given the nature of the illness and given as much as you could get done when you could get it done.
Yeah, I'd say, me and my family were tried to be as proactive as possible. And it was also out of necessity because I didn't have any health coverage. I was a new entrepreneur, no salary, no benefits. And as it turns out, the drugs for MS aren't covered by OHIP. I'm not sure if other provincial plans do, but I was going to have to apply for other bursaries and stuff like that, so we wanted to be as prepared as possible.
Okay, so then you find yourself in this position, and I'm assuming there is a standard protocol of drugs that you could have gotten on,
yeah.
But instead you went the route of looking for a trial.
Yes.
And you found one at McGill.
Yes.
By luck, you were the last person to get into it.
Yes.
One spot left, you got it. Why not go the traditional route? What was it about that particular route that you wanted? And talk to me about the effect it had on you.
Sure. So I guess my aunt had recently had really good results on a trial for her leukemia. And she had actually found this new drug in the US that was showing good results. It had just got FDA approval, but wasn't yet Health Canada approved. So I was interested, right? Because it was showing like almost twice the effectiveness as some of the other drugs. Now, it's also a little bit more risky because there's no long-term data if there's other side effects down the road. So I thought, well, my options are either the more tried and true stuff or this.
And when we say tried and true, it works to a certain extent.
It works to an extent. You're basically trying to limit the reoccurrence of episodes like the eye thing or other forms of deterioration. This one was showing to be more effective for many people, but also everyone's different, right? It's a bit of a trial and error. Like Tylenol might work for you, doesn't work for me. It's the same goes with the MS drug. So I guess what we were thinking is my options are really either a daily needle, and it's a fairly effective drug, or with this new one, there was every 6-month IV infusion I had to take. So it was kind of more easy to manage from a lifestyle perspective. The results look good, so I thought, hey, that's where I'll try, and if I can get on this trial, then it's all paid for. So just that combination of factors made it seem like the best way to start.
Okay, so you get into this thing.
Yeah.
What were the initial results?
Yeah, so no word of a lie. I've been getting treated for 1.5 years now, and I've had no further deterioration from the initial damage to my eye, and I do have a couple of brain lesions, but very minor as far as MS goes. So yeah, very grateful so far. And who knows whether it's the drugs responsible or the lifestyle changes I've made, but the combination is definitely working for me. And we just kind of take it 6 months at a time and go from there.
Talk to me about how life has changed from before you got into this, you start taking this particular treatment, to today. Here you were on the cusp of starting your own business. I've got to think that when you get a diagnosis like MS, it could slow things down for people. It might make them reassess and say, is it even worth it for me to do that? And then here we are today, you've launched a new business. Are you in two different headspaces?
It's interesting. I would say, it was really scary, and the neurologist told me I had to take 6 months off, and this was during a critical point in the business, and I was starting to have identity issues. I really prided myself in someone who would work hard and stick with problems to the end, and if I had to stay up all night, I would. But that mentality, that approach to work was only going to do more damage. So I would say my initial response was a bit of depression, and had to really reevaluate how I was going to approach life. And I really like how Jim Carrey puts it. I don't know if he coined it, but he's like, you're not depressed, you just need deep rest. And so that's really what I did. And really took time to breathe and think what's essential to me, what's important, and that's what I would focus on. So, those kind of seeds I planted were family, health, and my business. And so, I've really focused on fostering those things and letting them grow, and not worrying about all the other noise. Really focused on that stuff.
It seems that in a situation like this, there are sort of two roads. The road forks, and there's one type of person that takes this road, and that's the people who are waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the drugs not to work anymore, for their condition to deteriorate. And then there would be those who say, all right, I've been given the best possible shot that the world can give me, and I'm going to take full advantage.
Yeah.
Which camp do you find yourself in?
My dad always said, play the hand you've been dealt, and play it to the best of your ability. I am so grateful for the hand I've received, with or without MS. And, I'm even at the point now where I feel grateful for the MS, because in many ways it was the wake-up call I needed, right? I was burning myself out, and I was spending time doing things that really weren't important to me. And now that I've removed the clutter and planted those new seeds, and I'm really focusing on watering them, I'm a lot happier. I'm happier than I've ever been. And the only reminder I have is, yeah, sure, sometimes I do a shoulder check and my vision's a little blurry, but that's really about it for me.
You must be in a good headspace because you have carried on growing this business. Yes. Talk to me about Caribou, because yes, when we first talked about it, I thought it was one of those things I was like, well, of course, why doesn't this already exist?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So we're really trying to innovate in home care. So, caregivers going into patients' homes. And a big problem we have right now is there's a shortage of these professional caregivers, and families aren't getting the help they need. We're seeing wait lists growing across the country, and families are getting burnt out. A lot of the care burden's falling on them. And then, ironically, these caregivers are quitting because they're not getting enough stable hours of work. They have too many gaps in their schedules, and this unpaid idle time makes it hard to earn a livable wage, and they're finding jobs elsewhere. So what we do is we partner with their employers, the big home care companies, and we match families that need some last-minute help with that idle time, so families can see their favorite caregivers last minute. And we're piloting different payment models where maybe the government funds a portion of it or all of it, or maybe the families pay privately or at a discount. So we're just trying to make sure all of this caregiver time is used and not wasted, and families get the help they need.
Do you, I'm sure you appreciate sort of the I don't know what you'd call it, the irony of the fact that you were working on this before you found yourself in a position that maybe one day, in a worst case scenario, you might need to avail yourself of these services.
I was hoping that was going to be in like 80 years, but hey, MS patients were a big part of our target demographic we wanted to help. Often you'll see someone maybe in their 40s, maybe they're in a wheelchair, or maybe they only need some help when they have an actual flare-up of symptoms, right? Because MS is quite episodic. So what a great way to what a great person who might need an app to get some flexible help, here and there. So I now have a whole new level of empathy for folks living with MS. I would say my case is very mild. I'm lucky, but who knows where it can go, and I really hope to make a difference for those folks.
Where do you hope to take Caribou in the future? Where do you want it to be 10 years from now?
I want it to be across the world. We want to go into other, care verticals, go into nursing, physio. Right now we're focused on just basic level of care. I want to make nursing students on demand and other health students. We want to be the first to develop AI and scheduling these caregivers if we get enough data and enough people using it. And I'd like to also integrate other services like meal delivery, you name it. I want to be a one-stop shop we want to be a one-stop shop for anyone that needs some little extra help at home.
I want to go back to sort of where you are health-wise, because I was struck by how good and strong you look and how vibrant you were. And yes, a lot of that has to do with attitude and outlook and changing of lifestyle choices. But earlier this week, we were actually supposed to talk, have this conversation a couple of days ago, and we needed to reschedule it because you had a little bit of a flare-up. So talk to me about that.
Sure. So yeah, it was, I guess I notice I have many flare-ups if I'm overly stressed and maybe haven't got enough sleep. And Sunday night, I didn't sleep for even a second. And we were set to do it on Monday.
You were nervous about our conversation.
Totally nervous. I'm still nervous, but yeah. So and then I woke up, but I just got out of bed and I was feeling very fatigued. My vision was blurry. Felt like I was walking through water in a way, and I thought, this is not the right, headspace to be in to do an interview. So in those situations, you just have to listen to your body and don't take on more stress like this. That might have put me into episode levels, right? And so I just rested, took the time, and by the next day, fell back to full health.
So do moments like that, are they simply just part of your new normal? Have you accepted those as part of the treatment, or do you view them as a worrying sign of something to come?
Okay, so I don't know whether it's something new or something that always existed, but I just pay more attention now, right? Because one of the big ways to manage MS is to practice mindfulness. So a lot of the research shows that it's just as, if not more effective as some of the leading medicines. And when you're mindful, you're aware of the senses. You're aware of your thoughts, how you feel, and all of that. And now that I pay attention and respond a little bit more appropriately to those feelings, instead of just pushing through and staying up all night, I place a lot of importance on it. I do it, and then I find the more I practice that, the better the outcomes in my life, whether it's health or personal or family, you name it.
A lot of people were taken aback, but also celebrated the fact that when Selma Blair announced that she had been diagnosed, and then we saw her very first television interview, I think a lot of people were in part startled by the physical change, but also learnt a lot about multiple sclerosis, the attitudes in it, and also it seemed that there was an appreciation for that it's not necessarily an end result of an illness, but rather it's a journey that can be that the person going on has a certain amount of control over, certain amount of control.
Yes.
What did you think when you saw her on television?
Yeah, I was inspired, and kudos to her for going up there when I think she was experiencing some speech issues at the time, flare up, and that takes a lot of guts, and I really respect that because, one of my goals as well was when I was in I'd say the deepest part of my depression in the early stages, I thought, when this turns around, I want to, help advocate and, help people show that you can still achieve whatever you want. You just have to find a different approach. And I'm still figuring that approach out. It's, you experiment every week, every day, and learn as you go. But I'm just, I just think part of that interview is part of what inspired me to come here and talk to you.
The protocol that you're on right now, where is it in terms of approval by the government, Health Canada?
Totally approved.
Totally approved now.
Yeah.
This is now available to everyone.
It's available to everybody. I don't think most neurologists will recommend it as your first one because it is relatively new, don't have the long-term data, but it is, I believe, the first line of defense for progressive MS. There's relapsing, which is what I have, where you only really deteriorate when you have a big episode, but progressive is kind of more of a constant thing, and it's showing good results for that part of the disease for the first time in history, which is pretty cool.
Alex, listen, you've got to get back to work. You've got a company to grow.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it's been a real treat to speak to you. I've learned a lot. It's an inspiring story, yours. And I think that a lot of people, whether they're dealing with MS or anything else in their lives, have a lot to learn from you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here, and you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.